welcome back to the Oral Health Podcast with Karen and Sophie from the Oral Health Foundation. Now, we're entering week 2 of National Smile Month, where we are focusing on food and drink. You got a little bit of an insight into the way that food affects our mouths back when we spoke to a few people from Recipe for Change a couple of months ago. As part of the celebration of the campaign reaching 8 years old. They talked a lot about, the impacts of sugars in foods and drinks and why the soft drink levy is good for our oral health, essentially. So fizzy drinks are not the best for your teeth, even though I am sat with a Pepsi Max. Other brands are available just to perk me up in the afternoon, but I'm sure there's loads of reasons why they are not that great for you, Karen, aren't there?
Well, no, but sometimes we need a lift, and as long as you drink it all down in one part of a meal time, negating some of the damage that is possible. Better if you don't have it, but I always have a coffee.
If we do like a little tier list of what foods are the worst, what foods are the best, whereabouts would fizzy drinks sit in like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
I mean, they're
Swiping
pretty high
away.
up. They're pretty high up. I mean, when you're talking about the full sugar ones, the ones that you were talking about, the sugar levy, the ones that the manufacturers have to pay the sugar levy for, obviously have a lot of sugar in them. I believe it's about 8 teaspoons of sugar in a can of drink like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of sugar. I mean, if you put 8 teaspoons of sugar in front of somebody and said, eat that, they wouldn't do it, but they will drink it if it's in liquid form. So they're high up. However, I would probably put fruit juices and fruit smoothies right up there as well, because you've got the sugar. It's no longer a what's classed as a good sugar. It is now a free sugar, which, as we've talked about before, a free sugar just means it's not encapsulated. It is an added sugar. So once you get fruit and you puree it, you are releasing it from its capsule,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, and it becomes now a free sugar. So now it is a sugar that is harmful. So if you're looking at fruit smoothies, fruit juices, you've got the double whammy, because you've got the sugar that's now free and you have got acidity as well. So, whilst we all think, we should have more fruits in our diet, fruit juice may not be the best way to do it. Having the whole fruit
Yeah.
is much, much better for your teeth.
And I was talking to, as I was saying to you earlier, at the youth group that I work for on a weekend, we were making mocktails, and we were talking about the things that they were putting in their drinks. So they say mocktails. It was mainly like smoothies, but we put them in like a fancy cocktail glass, and so now it's a mocktail. But loading it up with like the strawberries and the apples and the oranges and like then
Mm,
blitzing it around with fruit juice. And obviously that they loved it and it was great fun. But
hmm
now that I'm more like dentally aware, I hate it because sometimes I look at this and I'm like, oh yeah, you're enjoying your drink, but there is a ridiculous amount of sugary acids and things in that. So maybe you shouldn't have a third glass. But it's like now that I'm more aware of it, I find myself slipping into that, well, you shouldn't be doing this mode a lot.
Yeah, and I know we do all of that kind of uh you know, preaching and but I think that at the end of the day, it's education. People will make their own choices, won't they? I know when they're children, they perhaps don't. We're kind of saying, but I think everything, if we in moderation, and if we give people the warnings and they choose not to partake, fair enough. If they choose to have it, then we've done our job, haven't we? We've told them what could happen. I don't think you can, you can't be a police state and run around and knock the glasses out the kids' mouths and things.
No.
But many, many cocktails, whether it's an alcoholic cocktail or if it's a mocktail, there's a lot of syrups, a lot of fruit going on in there that makes them incredibly sweet, and the majority of them taste very, very sweet. We put sugar around the tops of glasses. There's
Yeah.
a lot of sugar involved in those, so it is quite a minefield out there choosing what to drink. And who doesn't enjoy a little cocktail? on
You've got to treat
holiday
yourself, haven't you?
by the
You know.
pool. Oh, sorry, I drifted away then. I was on a sunny beach somewhere. Bang, back down to earth with a bang there. Thank
Yes,
you. Thank you,
unfortunately.
Sophie. Yeah,
Well, so
so
in our tier of bad to good, if we've got fizzy drinks around the middle, where then would things like cocktails and mocktails sit? Are they worse or are they better or
I think they're probably slightly higher, I would have thought. I mean, with all of these things, there's not very much between them. And I think we just have to almost put them all on the naughty list. And I almost hate the word naughty because it always makes people feel as if they're being a bit decadent by having it.
yep, yep, yep.
So,
It's got that connotation for
you
sure.
know, and people will tend to do the opposite if you tell them not to do something. However, I think with all education, you give people the tools. What they do with them is up to them. You
Hmm.
know, like I said before, we can only advise, we can't police it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here on my high horse going, I've never had a cocktail in my life. I've never had, it's not like that, is it?
No,
I
it's
think
not.
when I before I had children, when I was training to be an oral health educator, I used to go, milk and water is the only thing a child needs to drink. Well, and then you kind of get into the real world and you realize that for the majority of the time, yes, that's perfectly fine. But there is the odd occasion where, you would be cruel to stick to it. And it can be difficult, when everybody else is doing something else. Where do you draw the line? And I think, like with everything, moderation is the key.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
making yourself fully aware of what could happen if you overdo something. And that's not just dental things, is it? It's not just food and drink, but you know, let's go for a safer swap, maybe. And we've talked about this before, haven't we?
We have.
Swapping out things for something that is less bad for us. And we're not going to say it's absolutely risk free because we're human. Nothing is risk free, is it really? But let's swap things for a no added sugar, sugar free, those kind of things. There's not many things that are sugar free, but there are some. No added sugar, obviously, again, doesn't mean no sugar. It just means there's no extra sugar added. So you still have to count those products in your free sugars each day. So yeah, I mean drinks, I like to, yeah, as I say, milk and water are the safest option. If that's what you want the utterly safe option, drink those, absolutely fine. I would say drink water in between meals. It's much more hydrating. It quenches your thirst better, and it is better for you. Um, Lots of people don't like water.
But once you hit 18, or maybe even a bit younger, to be fair,
It's an age
it's
thing, is it?
well, I think drinking milk straight is an age thing. Like,
Yeah,
have you ever
I
noticed
would
in horror films, anytime they want to show that someone is a bit not quite right in the head, they show them drinking a glass of milk?
really. Do you know,
Yeah,
I don't watch horror films. It's not my thing at all.
they're all milk
I
drinkers. It's like
really,
it's
oh
got
my
that kind of
gosh.
look of, oh, what's wrong with them
Do you
drinking
know
milk?
what? I
Obviously, that's not,
absolutely no.
that's,
Well, I'm going. I well, no, I'm taking you on your word now.
okay.
If I see anybody drinking a glass of milk ever again, I'm going to run for the hills.
You should.
Well, just in case, you never know, do you? I mean, I'm guessing that doesn't count babies. Are they exempt from
Well,
this?
no, I'm
They're a
thinking
complete
of,
psychopath.
you
I
know,
should run away.
the film Get Out is the one that comes to mind. Like when you realize that she's a bit mental, she's sat there drinking her little cup of milk through a straw. It's like
Oh,
it's a
well,
bit
at least she's got a
weird.
straw.
Yeah.
Something to be said, isn't there? She's not
Saying
all
that,
bad.
I will drink a glass of milk if it's got coffee in the bottom of it. I am such a fan of a milky coffee, a milky latte, iced or hot, don't mind, don't care,
Mm.
cappuccinos all the time. But that's also not that great for my teeth, as my hygienist has told me, to be fair.
Is
She
that
is on it.
because the if you made your own latte though, you would only put milk. You'd make a milky coffee, wouldn't you? So you'd
Hmm.
heat up the milk, put some coffee in. That's all right. That's all right. It's just if you're buying a shop one, I would imagine that they would add sugar to it because
Yeah.
it's
And the
more
syrups
palatable for
get
people.
dangerous as well.
All syrups, yes, all syrups. Um, yeah, I mean, as I said, well, we only have skimmed milk at home, so I don't mind drinking that because it is almost like white water, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what my family don't use anything else, so they're my son uses it in protein shakes and things when he's doing something strange at the gym or
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, I mean, as I say, we go off on a tangent as we always do into horror movies and the like. But yes, I'm going to be. That is one of my top tips. Yeah, which what with the zombie escape plan and the psychopath with the glass of milk, I'm sorted, me.
You are.
Um, but yes, as I say, there are tips to swap, and I'm always like that when you go and look at the meal deals in the shop. You could go for the biggest, fattest sandwich with all sorts in it, but also you can go for the nicer range, the healthier range if you wanted to. That can also be passed over to the drink that you have. You could have a bottle of water with that, but even a subtle swap to you've got your Pepsi Max, so go from your Pepsi to Pepsi Max. At least you've taken the sugar out.
That's true. Just the
So
acid then, isn't it? Like
it's
that's the
just the
next
acid
thing.
then. I mean, we'd say just the acid, but yeah, it's you know, uh, we're kind of just taking a bit of it away, so it's not quite so you've got rid of the sugar. But yeah, when we look at the amount of sugar we should have per day, that is everything. So you have to kind of count up. If you have, for example, 4 cups of tea with 2 sugars in, and you've pretty much used up your whole allowance of sugar for the day before you look at food.
Yeah, we'd
Uh,
all like a sugary drink, I think, sometimes. I don't there is a few people, and I suppose I'm on the fence with it, that would say, oh, never have sugar in hot drinks, da 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 da. But people do. I know I
People do.
sometimes put one in if I need an
Yeah.
extra hit. But
But why not
yeah.
use a sweetener? Do they not taste the same?
I'm
I
quite
really don't know.
this might really shock you, Karen, but I'm quite particular.
Never a truer word said. Yeah.
I'm quite
Do you know?
particular with sweeteners, and there's some that I really, really, really do not like. And if they're the only ones that are on offer, but I want something sweet, I will just have a sugar. But I might have, I don't know, I think it's just marketing getting to me, but I have a brown sugar if I'm out and about because I feel like it's a little bit healthier, but
I
it's
know.
not.
Sitting in
It's
your posh.
absolutely not. But
There's you sitting in your posh coffee shop trying to be posh, putting a brown sugar in. You're
yeah,
fooling nobody
I just want to fit in, Karen.
with that up north accent.
Yeah. It goes away as soon as I
Throttle.
open my mouth, doesn't it? But I think
Yeah.
that's actually with drinks, they're very much overlooked, I think, because people think about, oh, sugar content, yeah, food. And then, like you say, they might think they're being low on sugar because they don't have biscuits, they don't have cakes, they don't have white bread, they don't have like sauces and things, and then they will put 2 spoons of sugar in a cup of tea.
Well, yeah. Some people you can't change. I mean, I worked with the dentist that took 1 sugar in, and I gradually knocked him down till he was having none and didn't even notice. So, um, it is possible to wean yourself off. So why not just have a few grains less each cup you make, and eventually you won't have any sugar in it. But and the great thing about sugar that some people don't realize is the tea leaf has natural fluoride in it. So
Yeah.
if you haven't got sugar in it, you're actually strengthening the enamel on your teeth. I mean, it's not massive amounts, but it is quite a nice little selling point for a cup of tea with no sugar in.
It's about 4 ppm, isn't it? Something like
Yeah,
that,
it's little.
off the
It's
top of my
little, but
head.
it's a nice thing. I know I went to Venezuela on holiday, and we went to the national park,
Wow.
and we went across on this sort of inflatable canoe thing, which was bit hair raising. And as we were going along, I was thinking, it smells really familiar around here. And I can't think what it is. And the water was a really strange colour. And it was actually the tannin from the plants leaching into the water. So it was literally cold tea
Wow,
that we were going across. Because
that's really
and as
cool.
soon as the guide said, this is like literally tea, you think yeah, it smells like tea. So yeah, it was a great big tea lake almost.
That sounds
But
brilliant.
it was good fun.
Off to
It was good fun.
Venezuela.
Yeah, yeah, why not? Angel Falls were amazing. But that's another story for another day.
Absolutely. Is there anything other than milk and I know you said milk and sugar? Anything anything other than milk and water that is a good thing to have, or are they really the only things?
I mean, they're obviously the ones that we can say without
I
fear
should
of
say as well, that's milk without anything like it's not chocolate milk.
no,
You're not having
it's just
chocolate
milk,
milk.
milk, milk. Yeah, just milk out of the bottle, out of the carton, out of the yeah. It's
I put
just
it in a
milk on its
glass
own.
first. Don't
Oh
drink it out the
yeah.
carton.
Oh, you have gone very Warwickshire, haven't you?
What are you saying? Everyone up north drinks out of cartons?
The flat cat fit.
On that note, I'm gonna go. I hope that this has been somewhat helpful. Yeah, I think the lasting sort of takeaway of advice is just think about drinks. Don't discount a drink just because it's not in your food. The sugar is still there. So
The sugar is still there. And beware of psychopaths drinking milk.